Everybody, welcome back to episode 20, if you can believe it. We've finally hit the big 2-0. So, you know, what a special day to be recording episode 20 of the Union 0430. Not only do we have an amazing guest this evening, who's once again carved some time out of his schedule for us tonight, but we're finally actually starting to see some pictures of some dead birds here in Ontario. So it's safe to say that the season has started here in Ontario. I know out west and other parts of the country, they've already started. But for us, we're finally seeing some dead birds. So as usual, we'll kick it off. We'll do a quick little intro of the lads. We got Phil in Oshawa, Dave in Kincardine, Mark just outside of the nation's capital, Ryan down on the east coast of Canada. I'm in Kingston, Ontario. And our guest this evening, coming all the way from the Mecca of goose hunting. And I cannot describe the location any more than that because Claudio has given me strict instructions not to talk about where he is. So, in Alberta, Mr. Claudio Ongaro. Claudio, thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Oh, my pleasure, guys. It's fun. Just come off a week of hunting on our own, and it was good, really good. In fact, we crushed them.
So those pictures you were putting up the last few days, that's all from hunts this week?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, just all fresh stuff. Yeah, nice. Like last night we took, Jason, one of the guides and I were spotting, and then we took a buddy of his out, and then one of the local guys from here that hunts quite a bit, and then another RCMP officer that we know, and he came out. So 5 of us, we shot 40 ducks and 18 Canadas, which we didn't even expect to kill because they weren't really using the field. We called them in, and it's good. Yeah, it was just last night, and it went 32-32 a couple nights ago for 4 guys, and it was as pretty as you can, have, like 300 speckled bellies just doing it all on camera is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
And it's all on camera so we can watch this and have something to do in the off season, right?
Oh yeah. Like it's, well, I'm just kind of in our makeshift editing room. Cause normally we have a cabin that we have the whole camera crew in, but we're just keeping it all in the lodge right now. So I'm just kind of tucked in the corner of the lodge where we have the editing computer and yeah, we've been watching some of the footage. It's been really good. It's been really good.
That's awesome.
What do you guys run for cameras out there?
What's that?
What do you guys run for cameras, like video cameras and such?
Well, we've got 2 Canon C100s. So those are, 1080p cameras. They're professional grade cameras with, every lens from, a little 18 millimeter wide angle to this big 400 behind me here to capture some of those really cool shots. And then we have a Canon XF400 that we just got. It's a 4K camera. It's a video camera. And then we use 2 4K GoPros to capture some of the other stuff, and Panasonic G5 for doing some of the other slow-mos. And so I don't know, more cameras than I care to want to have to know how to use, but plenty,
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good. Gotta get multiple camera angles, and in case you have build redundancy into it, because when you got all the cameras there, if anything fails, you have an audio fail or something, you gotta have another camera to back everything up and covered. So yeah, it's a bit of work. Adds a bit of an element to the hunt, makes it more of a pain in the butt, but whatever, gotta do it, I guess.
Hey, it's a small problem to have, I would
yeah.
think. So we've just touched on it a little bit, and for most of the viewers, most of the people that watch us on YouTube and then listen on the podcast, you're no stranger to those people, Claudio. Being the owner and operator of you know, the most successful waterfowl outfitting lodge in Canada. You've had thousands of satisfied clients that keep coming back year after year. And then you just touched on it, you know, you're filming for your own TV show, Hired to Hunt. You truly are a rock star in the waterfowl world. You know, like we talked to Daryl, you know, a couple weeks ago, we had Daryl on and we were chatting with him, and we talked, you know, and Ryan's been on and spoke about it a few times as well, about just how hard it is to be successful as an outfitter or a guide. You know, when you guys do all your editing and you put that show up and it comes out on TV and it's up on your YouTube, you know, you guys have already worked out all the kinks and everything. You know, tell us about your path and just how hard it is to be successful at this trade, for lack of a better term.
It's, you know, like I never really thought of it as I guess, I mean, it's hard. I guess we make it look easier than it is. You know, I've got a great team of guys. I mean, those guys are dedicated. You know, are we the best callers? No. Are we some of the, you know, best spotters in the country and most dedicated guys who, you know, will you know, get up earlier and go to bed later than anyone else and forgo a midday nap to go, you know, find a way into the puddle? That's the hard part, you know, from the guiding side. On the outfitting side, you know, you have to have a bit of marketing background. And, you know, I used to be a teacher and I taught, you know, industrial ed and communication technology. So, you know, I was teaching kids in 1989 photography and video editing, and, you know, you build on that. I remember my first year, I videotaped with a VHS camera, threw a videotape together of the hunting that we had. And, you know, while some of the other outfitters were sending out, you know, little brochures, I got an inquiry, I'd send out a VHS, right. You know, and I mean, those are the things that, you know, I think set you apart. And if you can't get people in your door, you can't show them how, you know, what the resource is like. And it's easy to be good when you have a lot of birds, you know, and of course, some of these birds, like we did a hunt the other day. I mean, the pintails were dancing on the robo-duck. These birds are 6 weeks old. We feel bad. Like me and the guides are going, oh my God, like this is hardly sporting. When you know, we had 200 full bodies out. We had 4 robo-ducks out there spinning. I mean, 30 minutes, it was over. They're all dead in the hole. I mean, but I mean, it's that setup and the knowledge that allowed that to happen, I guess, you know? So, yeah. But I mean, it's, you just kind of learn and you move forward and you take those mistakes that you made and you never try to repeat them, right? Like we made a big mistake the other night. We killed 5 geese. I mean, it was me and Jason. We invited one of the local kids, actually Barb, our the bird cleaning lady, and her son. And we said, hey, we'd hunted with them before. We went 32. And they said, you want to come out with us again? He goes, yeah, the ground's wet. We can't do any farming. So he came out and, you know, I said to the guys, I said, you know, we got about 5,000 specs. The wind is out of the west. And I go, I don't like it because the birds are approaching from the east. They get the bounce off the decoys. Those things were flaring at 300 yards. 300 yards. You know, I mean, they weren't seeing us. They were seeing something. And, you know, we killed 5. We packed up. We went home. You know, and that's with 250 full bodies out there. You know, so, you know, you take your lumps. And would I have ever done that hunt with clients? Probably not. I'd have picked something else or something with a little bit more structure, or we shot something else, you know. But you know, it was just us. We were trying a couple new systems too that we're working on, and it just went sideways on us. So it happens to us too, right? But
yeah, absolutely.
You know, just work hard, spot hard, and use good sound hunting technique, you know.
And I think you hit the nail on the head when you said you try not to repeat your mistakes, right? And let's face it, you didn't learn all of this overnight. There's been a lot of trial and error over the years, right? And you know, not repeating any mistakes is the key message, I think, that a lot of people need to understand.
It's huge, you know. And we have, like, you know, you know, we hunt for 9 weeks, 20 hunts a week. That's 180 shoots a week times 27 years. There's a lot of opportunity to make mistakes, right? And then, you know, me and the guides, we have a meeting every day right after we come back from spotting, and we have a meeting every day after our hunts in the evening, and or either that or after supper. So, you know, the meetings are, you know, threefold. One is, okay, what are we watching? What do we have permission on? What do we need to get permission on? What do we have permission on? And what are we going to target? And what are we doing tomorrow morning? And then, you know, or tomorrow afternoon or this afternoon. And then the other part of the meeting is, all right, well, I tried this today and I tweaked it a little bit and I moved this over here and it really, really worked, you know. And, you know, that thing we talked about yesterday that we were going to try, yeah, that didn't work. So let's not do that again. You know, so we just put a big X on that concept and throw it away, you know, and that's just huge. So, you know, we have the opportunity, like, you know, we can learn in a year. It could literally take a hunter a lifetime. You know, like how often do you go and like how long will it, you know, how many years would it take you to hunt 180 times? It's a lot of times, right?
Yeah.
And to gather that information. So, you know, we're blessed that way, and you do that for 27 years. I mean, I don't even know how to do the math on that right now. It's thousands of hunts, you know?
Yeah.
So it's, you know, so we're spoiled in that regard too, right? You know?
Wow.
But
I guess like to reiterate like what you just said, like you guys have been hunting for decades. You've got so many guides, so much experience, you know, that have come together, you know, at your outfit. And you guys, for lack of a better term, are quite spoiled with the bird numbers.
We are.
That you guys have, like we've said in numerous episodes before. I'm like, I do some hunting around. Like I'm in the Toronto area, and like our fields, you know, a good field, you'll have 600-800 geese. You guys are seeing that in like the thousands. But again, like even, you know, like you said there, like, you know, that hunt where you got 5. You know, it's a bit of an eye opener. Like even having that, you know, all those untouched birds and those kind of numbers, you know, things can still go sideways.
They can, and, you know, situational for sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, those are speckle bellies too, and specks can be specks, especially if you don't have any of the juveniles in yet. But, you know, and, you know, you're probably hunting mostly Canada geese. For us, where we hunt here, 250 Canadas is a big hunt for us. Like we don't have big, like, there's lots of Canada geese around, but they don't, right where we are, they don't tend to concentrate. So 150, 200 is a good hunt. 500 is an amazing monster Canada goose hunt for us, right? But, you know, like yesterday we went out, like I said, there's 50 or 60 Canadas feeding with 1,500 speckle bellies and 3,000 mallards. So we went out, we shot 40 mallards and 18 Canadas, and we didn't have a speck come into the decoys because they end up piling in a mile away. They come off the roost, went into another spot, sucked all the ducks to them, but enough ducks came to look. So there's so much landscape too, and there's so much opportunity for the birds to do something else that just having them come back to the field you're in is quite miraculous. You know, you just go, whew, thank God they're coming back.
I guess like there's a lot more, you know, food options and stuff. Like you guys don't have nearly the development that we have here, like where I am in the GTA, where like, you know, they might be hitting 5-6 different fields and, you know, a couple square kilometers. Where you guys are, they'll pick up one day and we're just going to go 6K this way and just give you the big FU, right?
Like my outfitting like area, like the WMUs that I have is 5 million acres, and you're basically hunting 5 million acres of bait. Because it's all, you know, unless it's canola or pasture, it's all food, right? Like it's unreal. Whether it's a pea field, barley, you know, wheat stubble. I mean, there's lots of options for these birds to feed it, you know. And what's interesting is those big fields, like, you know, like the field I was in where we shot the 5 there the other night. It's 1,200 acres. You know, of wheat. I mean, and you try to pinpoint where they fed, but I'll tell you what, they come over and if anything looks a little bit funny, they just like like that day they flared, but I mean, sometimes they'll just slide off and land 300 yards away. So it's all got to be perfect, you know. But there's lots of food options, that's for sure, and that's why, you know, it's so critical for us to sit and watch that, you know, they're feeding here and they're roosting here and they're going back and forth. And if you can watch them feed twice, you try to get underneath them the third time, you know, and they're going there whether you're there or not. You're kind of just getting in the way. And that's why, you know, Alberta guys, we really don't, like, I'm not a great caller. Mel's not a great caller. Jay's not a great caller. Brad's not a great caller. I mean, we're okay, but we're not like Daryl. You know, like Daryl's a fantastic caller, you know, and you just don't learn to call. You spend way more time spotting than you do calling here and getting underneath them. And, you know, and then your decoy layout and your system and your concealment system. And, you know, do you front shoot them? Do you side shoot them? You know, you can run a J or a short leg or a U or long legs and everything's different, right? And then, you know, are you hunting, you know, what's the flock composition? Do you have, you know, 15,000 specks and 2,000 snows and 4,000 mallards, or do you have 10,000 mallards and 400 Canadas and 1,500 little ones? Like, so you got to, like, in every species reacts a little differently to the decoys. So you got to lay out the spread based on the flock composition to maximize the most amount of opportunity for the birds to come in and decoy, you know. But
I guess, like you said, like you guys hunting like a 1,200 acre field. Like I've watched your show numerous times. I love the show.
Thank you.
I notice, like, you know, you guys are out there till well after dark, and you'll stake the X. You'll get that big stick in the ground with the reflective tape, because like you guys, fields are massive.
They are.
Here we're hunting 100, 200 acres on the big side.
Nice.
And like, yeah, they were like over there last night. So you go there.
Yeah.
You set up within 50 yards, but like you guys, like 1,200 acre field, 1,300 acres, like where the hell do you go, right? You're not pulling them.
No.
You got to be right on the X within inches, so to speak.
Pretty much. I mean, you know, you can move them a little bit, like 100 yards or so, or a couple hundred yards you can, but yeah. You know, and the big thing is, you know, you're out there in these big fields, and before we had, you know, GPS technology, now, you know, do we really need to put a pin with a reflector in? You know, not really, because we got our phones, but before we had that, you know, we went, all right, like, and that pin became a necessary evil, because we went, all right. And I've got lost in fields before. We think, oh, this is easy. It's over the hill, around the corner. And then you wake up and you go in there, it's foggy. And you spend 30 minutes trying to get to your spot. It's like, oh boy. You know, so you put that reflective pin in the ground and you get the field. And, you know, now with light bars, you turn them on, you can see that thing half a mile away. It lights up, you drive right to it. You know, it's stressful when you got a, you know, truck full of clients and you're lost in the field. I mean, what a great way to look like an idiot, you know, and then you're driving around. Yeah, you're driving around. So, you know, now we pin it and then we pin it with our phone. And then, so you got built-in redundancy, right? And then, you know, what happens if one of the guides gets sick during the night and you don't have a pin in the field, a visual pin? Right now, we just go, okay, you know, you're going to so-and-so's. Yeah, the pin's in the southwest corner of that field, somewhere in those back 400 acres. Well, he'll find it, right? Because he drives around, pans the lights, he'll find that pin, and at least you know you're on the X. And then anyway, once you're on the X, play the wind and you'll kill him, you know?
Staying on that topic, Claudio, like when you first started in the 90s, there was no smartphone technology. So talk about the impact and the difference it made, like, or more so talk about the challenges when you first started out with like giant landowner maps and you know, on the tailgate of a truck and God knows what else you had to, you know, equip yourself in order to get the job done.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I remember in '94 when we started, I mean, I went and got the, you know, the 5 county maps and I had them laminated and I had 5 sets, one for each guide, right? And then we had them kind of rolled together with elastic, so it was like a scroll. So you could actually scroll them along and you could see them. And you know, you just kind of, and then you could be in one county at 10 o'clock, in another county at 11:30, and you're just scrolling through these maps. And then, you know, of course, you just didn't Google 411 and find the landowner's name. So you had to, you know, dig it up. You had to actually dial 411. And fortunately, we had, that was kind of the early onset of cell phones back then. So we had bag phones in the truck, you know, and and you'd sit there and you'd get on a hill somewhere because service wasn't exactly fantastic back then or everywhere. And you did your sleuthing, and sometimes it took you an hour, sometimes it took you 2 days to pinpoint, the landowner and find where they were, and you tried to stay ahead. But yeah, huge level of stress, especially, when you got clients, you got to hunt every day. And if you're bogged down with that kind of stress where you don't know the landowners, plus you don't have the tools to find them. Whereas now, hey, we know all the landowners, because we're doing it for so long, and we have the tools to find the new guys. It's much simpler now. Now the county map's right on your iHunter app, and you look there and all right, that's the new landowner. You just dial them up, or you call the neighbor, say, hey, who owns that one? And pretty simple now, really.
And with that much ground out there, it's not like here where, you can find the landowner knocking on 1 or 2 doors at the absolute most. Like 9 times out of 10, the field's behind the guy's farm. Where you guys, that farm, he could be 10K away, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. And some those, like here when I started, like the 1,200 acre farm was, I would say, the average. There's a guy, he had some cows, some chickens, a combine, and 1,200 acres. Like you said, there'd be a farm, and somewhere around there is where he lived, right? Now some of these guys are farming 10,000. Some guys are, farming 100 quarter sections of land, 100 quarters, and the names on the map, they're multiple companies, or they might be renting it off 30 or 40 different landowners. So you gotta, do your sleuthing and tracking down. But once you've, like, we're in it now and we know all the landowners. Like if there's, for example, I found some geese on one piece. It was a landowner, I didn't recognize the name. I called another guy. He says, well, I think so-and-so farms. He calls in. Boom, within 15 minutes, we had permission buttoned up, just by making a few phone calls. Where if you didn't have that luxury, it makes it much more difficult,
Well, Claudio, I'm sure you guys still build some redundancy into your, like, I'm sure there's still those maps being carried around. I remember a couple years ago being out and hunting with Daryl, and Daryl still had those maps in his truck that if he didn't have cell service or something went wrong, he still had the maps that he could rely back on to do it the old-fashioned way if he really, really needed to. So the technology is great, and maybe that's something that sets the seasoned guide and outfitter from the guys that are just starting, that rely on that technology way too much, and forget the old way and the hard way of trying to figure out things out in your neck of the woods. So it was pretty impressive being from Newfoundland and then coming to Ontario to hunt and seeing how things were done out there. It was pretty eye-opening for me. I can tell you that. One thing, and you've sort of kind of touched on it a little bit, but one thing that I always talk about on this show, and it's evident with the people that come on the show with me, is that I always surround myself with good people. And that's something my dad taught me at a really, really young age, and taught me that, you are the company that you keep. And if you surround yourself with good people, good things will happen. And much like Phil and the rest of us here, like, we watch your show and we know that as well-oiled a machine any operation can be, there's always going to be hiccups, and there's always going to be things that go wrong, because the law of averages say that that's the way it's going to be. How important is it to your day-to-day operations to have the best? Like, you could be a micromanager and manage every little aspect of every day for every one of your guides, but you need to be able to let these guys go out and do their own. You need to have some trust in these people. Like, how important is it to have the best in your mind?
Oh, it's huge, right? Like, I mean, and Ryan's experienced it, I mean, you cut them loose every morning and every afternoon when they're spotting, and these, like, they're killing machines, these guys. And if you're not, you won't be here next year. It's simple, right? And and I can bring in a rookie guide who, you know, and you might have a really good resident bird hunter, and, you know, they just don't have the experience. But if they've got the, you know, the stamina and the grit to go out there and the drive to want to come home with a hunt at all costs, you know, and I don't mean break the law. I mean, you know, spot till 11:30, and if you don't have permission on that hunt, just don't come home and worry about it after lunch. You get out there and you knock on doors. If you have to stay out there till 1:30 in the afternoon, you come home with a hunt. And that's what these guys are like. I mean, you know, they're like a dog with a bone. You know, they see those birds in that field, and if we need it, they're going to come back with either a yes or a no, but they're not going to come back and say, well, I didn't get a hold of the guy. You know, they won't do that, right? So, you know, and there are times when if there's lots of birds around, we back off. I mean, we're not going to tie up the whole countryside, because that's the best way to, you know, upset a whole bunch of local people. So we know we need to hunt, you know, 10 times in 3 days. We pluck what we need, and if we can get the best hunts, great, and they're not always the best hunts, right? So you're out there, and if there's a really big hunt and we need it, you got to chase it, and you got to chase it hard. And then, you know, as far as the rest of it goes, I mean, the equipment, the technology, we have so much experience, and I've done it with some of the rookie guides, you know, and here's an example. I mean, I remember this Ryan Sawyer guy, great guy, worked for me for a few years, and, you know, and then he grew up, ended up being an electrician, got married, moved on. But I remember in his first or second year, it was windy. We had like 60 or 70K winds, and I was going to do a hunt, and he was going to do a hunt. And I said, Ryan, if you don't get downwind to the side, you're not going to kill any. And I drew a diagram on a napkin, and I tucked it into a shirt. And I said, when you get out there, you open that thing up, and you set up exactly like that. Well, he come out of there at 21, I come out of there at 19 on the windiest day. And I mean, we were 50 yards downwind, not a decoy around us. And I mean, it works, right? And it's so windy that decoys are tumbling over. And I mean, he would, I guarantee you, not have known what to do in that situation. But I'd failed so many times, and I tweaked it and tweaked it and tweaked it, that when those conditions are like that, you can just, it's all instruction. Go out there and do it, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, and he was willing to go out and try it instead of going, well, I'm not trying that. That sounds crazy, you know, and he went and he got it done. And so, yeah, you got to surround yourself with guys that are, you know, willing to take the risks and work hard, and, you know, stay up till 1 a.m. loading a trailer because we pulled a switch or we just got late permission. And yeah, and if they're not willing to do that, they just, you know, they don't come back. It's pretty simple, right? Yeah.
So you talked about it. We just started our early goose season here in Ontario, and we're starting to knock on doors again. Do you want to talk a little bit about when you get rejected and you get that no, where do you go from there? Like, obviously you're going to look for another hunt, but for that farm field in the summertime, do you go and talk to them and say like, hey, why didn't you last year? Like, do you go more, or what do you do there?
Well, yeah, great question. So like the culture here is not so much that you go knock on a door in July and you go, hey, can we hunt your land for the season? Because most of the landowners won't give you that privilege. Just there's so much land, there's so much, they might have a bunch of hunts, they might have no hunts on their property during that year. So it's kind of a hunt by hunt basis. So let's say there's 1,500 mallards hitting a little puddle in their pea field. Well, you might find it on Sunday, you knock on their door and you go, hey, can we hunt it Monday or Tuesday? And they'll go, okay. And then your permission runs out Tuesday. Or they might go, yeah, sorry, Claudio, or sorry, Mal, or sorry, Jay, someone was here 15 minutes ago and they got the yes, right? You just shrug it off and move on to your next one, right? And that's why we do so much spotting. Like it's such a, like spotting is the #1 tool that we have, right? So we have a clipboard, and at every meeting we have a watch list, so we know exactly what we're watching. And we might be watching 50 hunts. We might only get permission on 2 or 3 on any given day just to stay ahead of the game. So if you're watching 50 and you go, okay, we really like that one, that one, that one, that one, and that one, and you get rejected on half of them, it's not over. It's just, you know, you just modify your plans. And and some landowners will just say, no, we don't want outfitting. Some landowners go, Ongaro, we don't like you. You know, you're never going to hunt our land again. Some landowners go, Claudio, yeah, go ahead, have at it. It's yours for the week. You know, some guys just go, you know what, you got beat to it, call us back next week. And it's just a revolving door of yeses and nos and maybes. And, you know, you just got to keep your chin up and, you know.
You guys fortunate enough where some landowners are like, yeah, you know what, it's yours for the season, or you're the only one that we want here. It's all yours till whenever.
Yeah, you know, there was 3 brothers that basically they get tired with fielding all the phone calls, and you know, they got tired of guys leaving messes in their fields, and then you know, they also got tired of guys, you know, saying, yeah, we're going to be there, and there's 10,000 mallards mauling their barley crop, and then it rains and they don't show up, you know, and then there's no call. So, you know, they finally just said, you're hunting our stuff, take care of the barley, and the rest is yours, you know, because these guys swath all their stuff, you know, and now, I mean, the kids are taking over now, and you know, the farm's got a little bit bigger, and now you got, you know, 3 kids or 4 kids managing the farm. And so now, you know, and now we just, you know, just to keep it all straight, we ask for permission on a hunt by hunt basis, and it works great, you know. And I like that system because it doesn't, you know, for lack of a better term, piss off some of the local hunters. Because, you know, imagine us having permission on 10,000 acres and we turn left instead of right, and we don't see, you know, 5,000 speckle bellies and 15,000 snow geese on a field, and we don't hunt it, and then it sits there for 4 or 5 days and no one's hunting it, and then they leave. It's a shame that it didn't get hunted. So just because we didn't hunt it, would have been great if someone else got the opportunity to hunt it. Like, we're not hogs. We just, you know, we use what we need to survive, you know.
Like, I'm fortunate. Like, I've got basically three farmers that I've been hunting probably in excess of 15 years now. And
nice.
Those 3 farmers, and that's all I hunt. Like, I don't do much in the way of, you know, trying to go out and try to get more permission and stuff. I got 3 great fields, and I was lucky to get those before, you know, I'll be one of many to admit it that Duck Dynasty has done more harm than good. But like, I locked up these three properties, and they've been absolute gold to me. But like, here in Ontario, like, we don't have those big swath rows like what you guys hunt out west. Like,
right.
90% of our hunting is cut beans and cut corn. And then you'll get the odd time where, you know, they'll cut the beans early and then it's winter wheat. So that's like pretty much, you know, the only, you know, live crop, so to speak, that we're hunting. You know, that's money that's actually being, you know, cost to the farmer, like, as a crop damage and stuff. We're like, to you guys out west with all the swath rows, that's money laying on the ground. And the longer it sits there, the more those birds hammer it, and then the more they lose, you know, so to speak, right? It's all profit loss.
It is.
So if you had a new guide that came in and they were, you're trying to teach them about how to get the yes from a farmer or a landowner, what kind of tips would you give them? Like, what would you tell them to wear? Or what would you tell them to say or act? Or,
you know, well, first of all, never lie and hide the fact that you're guiding or outfitting, because, you know, that'll bite you in the ass really, really bad. You know, just be up front. I mean, all the guides, they'll wear their Ongaro shirt and Ongaro hat. And when you're spotting, I mean, I'm not going to disclose to the landowner that I've hunted 25 years now and they've been here for supper 15 times that, hey, I'm guiding tomorrow. They know I'm guiding tomorrow, right? I mean, they know that. I don't need to disclose that because they know we're outfitting. But I mean, if it's a new landowner, you know, I just go on there, knock on his door and say, hey, how are you? Good. Do you allow hunting? Yeah. I own a hunting lodge. We're outfitting. Do you have a problem with that? And then they'll either say yes or no. And if they say, yes, we have a problem with that, I go, okay, you know what? Then we won't even bother asking for permission. No worries, right? If they say, yeah, you know what? We don't care if you're outfitting. It doesn't matter. And then you go, well, do you mind if we hunt that piece? And then you either get the yes or no because someone else may or may not have it, right? But just be congenial and respectful, and, you know, and don't call too early in the morning because, you know, these guys may have been combining till 1 in the morning. the last thing you want to do is wake them up at 6 or 7 or 5, you know what I mean? So we typically wait till 8. If we know they've been on the combines till 1 in the morning, we'll slide by the house and wait for the lights to come on. And then even then, give them some time. I mean, they don't want to be badgered when they're tired and they're busy, you know, or sometimes we'll wait for them to see if they're in the yard, and we'll either call them or shoot them a text or pull in and see them. But, you know, it's just about being congenial and, you know, respectful at all times. I mean, that's the big thing, you know.
I think that's one of the things that appeals to a lot of people about the show, Hired to Hunt. You guys tend to do it the right way. It's kind of re-encouraging. It appealed to me when I started watching the show that it's the morals and the values, you know, they're kind of setting the tone for what should be the right way to get permission. Not just to get permission. Yeah, like just to get permission. There's so many guys out there who starting to think they don't need permission or something like that. But the example you guys are setting for the waterfowling community, I think is really important. And I think you guys do a really good job of like showing that behind the scenes aspect. That's been a huge help to the community.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, you know, I mean, you know, I like to treat people with dignity and respect, obviously. And, you know, if you don't, you can get run. Like there's a lot of outfitters have been run out of the countryside, you know, if you don't do it right. You know, and the other thing I look at is, you know, clients are important and you serve them very, very well, but your guides are very, very, very important, and your landowner based relationships there are very, very important. And, you know, you actually have to look at it, and you know, I should hardly say this, but the clients are the least important in that structure, because if you take care of your staff and they're willing to go out and work hard, and then, you know, they're driven by respect and integrity, and then they go out and they're out there dealing, you know, with the landowners, they're going to get the yes, which trickles down into we get to hunt, and then ultimately you get to take care of your guests, you know. And I mean, it just needs to be done that way, you know. And you know, I mean, we pissed off the odd landowner. It happens, you know, and a lot of times we'll get blamed for stuff we didn't do. And I mean, that's just the nature of the business too, right? And you know, it happens. Like, for example, classic example, we'll have permission on a hunt, and then, you know, we'll either go in there, or let's say we're going to hunt it in the afternoon, we're watching it in the morning, and there's someone in there. Well, whether they had permission or not, and they may have got permission from the wife or the son or whatever, which is legitimate, but I just call the landowner up and go, hey, you know what, someone was in there, it wasn't us. If they leave a mess, it wasn't us. Or a lot of times we'll even drive in after they're done and make sure they didn't leave a mess, because guess who gets blamed? Because the landowner thinks it was us that was in there, right? So you guys got to take care of those details as well. Just make sure it's all, you know, and we're just really particular about cleaning everything up, like every empty, if we use willows, or, you know, if we have a whole bunch of chaff that we raked up to put on the blinds, don't leave it in a big pile, because these guys have to deal with that chaff, right? So spread it all out, so when they go over it with their harrows and discs and stuff, it doesn't cause clogs. And, you know, just be respectful on the landscape, which is huge, you know.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. Like, one of the properties that I hunt, I've had shared permission for a couple of years now, and I went in there, so it's about a week or two after this guy ran like an 8-man hunt. I probably picked up 40 or 50 hulls. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, you know, you can go to the farmer and, you know, start pointing fingers, or, you know what, you tidy it up and you just pretend like it never happened, and, you know, you keep things on the up and up, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and you don't even, like in that case, you just don't even mention it, right? You just do a good deed, you throw them in the garbage, and you deal with it, yeah. You know, for sure. I mean, we use a magnet, you know, and to pick up the hulls, and we have spotlights and light bars, and if you're late in the evening, you just make sure you get them all, you know, and you're going to miss the odd one sometimes, but I mean, if you try hard to get them. And then a lot of times if we, let's say, you know, you do a late hunt and you think, well, you know what, I don't know if we got them all. I mean, you're spotting right there, wheel in there in the morning after spotting at 10 o'clock, and you know where you hunted because you did the hunt, you know, kick through the chaff when you can see and pick up another 10, 15 hulls, you know, and clean up, you know, just very important for for sure.
Those are those. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mark, buddy.
Okay. So Claudio, this year, obviously, you're not doing a whole lot of outfitting and guiding. That's off the books. How are you finding just being able to hunt this year? How are you finding that?
I mean, I like it, obviously. I mean, from a economic perspective, when you're an outfitter and a full-time outfitter, I mean, this is bad. I mean, we're talking all the overhead and zero revenue. So, I mean, from a business perspective, it's brutal. From the hunting perspective, like Jason was out with us, one of my old guys was out with us, that have guided with me before. We're loving it, but again, it's hard because what we're doing is we're spotting in the mornings and then hunting in the afternoon and the evenings. Because when you're filming, what happens in the morning is you have that bird activity early, but there's no light for the cameras, right? So then, but in the afternoons, the activity is earlier in the evening and there's lots of light for the cameras, so the filming is better. Plus, I don't think we could handle the pace hunting ourselves if we were spotting till 9 at night, getting up at 3:30 to hunt, and then doing all the camera work during the middle of the day, and then spotting until 9. And like and you still got to eat. We don't have a cook. We don't have a cleaning lady. I mean, we're doing it all, so it's fun, but it's taxing, And I can't afford the entire army of guys. So, I mean, Jason was here. I mean, he was out. I mean, I supply the food and the fuel and the ammo, and it's fun. But I certainly couldn't afford to have the whole team, and all the salaries associated with it. It would just break a guy real fast, But as far as getting to pull the trigger, it's been fun. I mean, I hunted more in the last 9 days than I have in the last 15 years. It's pretty awesome.
Wow.
What are you shooting for a gun and ammo?
So Benelli Super Black Eagle 3s, 2s and 3s, just love them, And what we did last year is I had some heavy hammer, 3-inch 2s. I brought some of that in for the hunters. I'm sponsored by, Heavy Shot.
Yeah.
So we used to do 3s and BBs. And the challenge is, you give these clients, okay, guys, here's 4 boxes of BBs, 4 boxes of 3s, and then just whatever you need, we'll add or subtract from your bill at the end, right? Well, they're on a combo hunt, they're loaded with 3s, a bunch of Canadas come in, it doesn't do the job, So we went to 1s when the heavy steel and heavy snow. 1s are unbelievable. They pattern nice, and I mean, they whack the birds. And then I kind of was using that as my go-to one-shot type of ammo. And then when Heavy came out with Heavy Hammer, which is, 1,500 feet a second, and 15% of it is bismuth at a fairly reasonable cost. I mean, I think it's, $20 retail US. So, I mean, whatever, 24, 25 bucks Canadian. And it's unbelievable stuff. So this year I brought in all Heavy Hammer, and, so me and the guys have been shooting it right from September 1st on everything from, teal to the big Canadas. And it's amazing stuff. Like, I mean, it cycles well through the guns. But what it does do is, steel, you hit them and you see the bird quiver and they'll either sail off or go down and they're still alive on the ground. You just don't get that with this stuff. I mean, you hit them, they fold up, the head goes limp, and they just, like last night I killed a Canada goose. He was all of 60 up, and, the guys were going, I go, Jay, should I? He goes, yeah, try it. And I went, all right, no problem. And I said, I can kill that bird. Got out in front of him, just stoned it, down he came. He was dead by the time he hit the ground. So the stuff's amazing. It really is, and it's affordable, which is really cool.
You guys running for chokes?
Well, we did some patterning yesterday. Just the Benelli factory IC, improved cylinder. And we used to shoot modified, but a lot of times those ducks come in and we put the robo duck 12 or 14 yards off our toes. Well, I don't know how big your pattern is at 12 or 14 yards, but on a modified, it's not real tight. So we were actually handicapping our hunters. We go rip them, boys, like, nothing falls because these things are too close, right? So then we went to improved cylinder, and it was much better. And it's still tight enough where you can still kill them at 45 yards if you have to make that shot, or they're sliding a little too far or whatever. Works good.
And that's something that a lot of people oh, what's the best choke? I want one of these like extended full chokes with the, man, I'm shooting a Super Black Eagle too, and I'm shooting the modified as well. I think it's the great.
Yeah, you know, and you know what? Like we have a group of clients that come up and they'll shoot, you know, the fulls and the extra fulls, and you know, they're great shooters, these guys, and they don't miss. You know, the guys from Louisiana, and I've seen they go boom, boom, boom. I mean, they could be 10 yards away, they can be 55 yards. They're going to kill them, right? But you got to be a pretty strong shooter to shoot such a tight choke, and you know, then there's the excitement factor. I mean, you know, you got these guys, you know, that hire us to put them on birds, and if you've never shot Canadas before, and you get 15 of those big things drifting in with their big black feet hanging, you know, and their wings are coming in. I mean, you can hear the guys are excited, they're shaking, you know, they tell you, man, they're shaking and I didn't cut a feather. And it's like, you got to give them every advantage you can, you know, to get it done. So, you know, and then we got guys from, you know, we got from 12-year-old kids to 89-year-old guys. And, you know, we got 75-year-old guys who've never hunted before. And we've got 25-year-old guys who've been hunting all their life and are amazing. So you got that full gamut of, you know, so we just kind of pick one gun, like the Benelli Super Black Eagle. We know it'll shoot clean, dirty, wet, dry, whatever. And we put an improved cylinder choke in it until later in the season. You know, we might get the odd hunter that'll go, hey, we're going to put our own choke in. And I go, that's fine. Or they'll go, hey, can I put a modified in? And we'll go, sure, you know, go ahead. But for the most part, we kill everything with the improved cylinder choke.
See many guys run 20 gauges out there?
I have a couple of clients that, you know, that had me actually purchase the 20 gauges on their behalf, and then they just sit in my locker until they show up, and you know, two guys, and then when they come up, they just shoot the 20 gauges, you know, and they love them, you know, and again, you know, if you're a strong shooter, the 20 gauge is fine. I mean, 1,500 feet a second is 1,500 feet a second, whether you got 3 pellets or 300 pellets coming out of there, you know. As long as you can put them on the body and kill them.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about 28 gauges?
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
You know, it's not a real popular gun out here. I mean, you just never know what's going to show up, right? So those big Canadas come in there, and you know, and yeah, you can get it done. You know, like I said, 1,500 feet a second is still 1,500 feet a second, but it's just that the pellet count that, you know, you got to be a strong shooter and disciplined enough to know when not to pull the trigger, you know, and not everybody has that level of discipline, right? I sure don't. I like to shoot.
That's a bit of a.
Go
I was
ahead.
gonna say that's a bit of a shout out to our buddy Brandon German.
Yeah.
He's gonna run a 28 this year all season.
I can't wait to see some videos of that. But up here where I am, in about 2 weeks, it goes down to a 3-bird limit.
Oh.
So when it goes down to a 3-bird limit, we're talking about just the whole group of us getting single shot break action, like 1977 guns, and just having it, because we can get the birds in. It's just you shoot your 3 and you're done, right? And just have a fun hunt like that with our break open cooies and
Sure
model 12s or whatever, right? Like, so that's
Gentleman hunt.
Gentleman hunt, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's perfect. You know, very cool. Very cool.
Claudio, I wanted to touch on the fact that you just launched a bit of a new clothing line, and it's pretty cool. I like it. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the clothing line? You know, Hard for Hunt. Do your plug right now that, you know, let's, if there happen to be somebody that, I don't know, they're under a rock and they haven't heard of you or haven't heard of Hard to Hunt, you know, give a little plug and talk about this new clothing line, because I really do like it. And yeah, tell us a little bit more about it, please.
So, you know, of course, this COVID thing hit, and you know, of course, I'm sitting there March 15th, and my kids are with their, you know, their mom, and everyone's kind of quarantined, and we're just waiting for, you know, bird season to come around. And you know, I've got some graphic capabilities, and me and the guides have been talking about for years, you know, when we're hunting out of those white Tyvek suits. And of course, you know, they work. So, I mean, it can be that simple, but I mean, they're not the coolest thing, you know, especially running around and look like a bunch of, you know, painters out there, or guys doing a chemical cleanup. So from a visual perspective, it's not great, from a cost perspective on my end, you know, they're cheap, but they're not that cheap when I hand out 10 of them and then all of a sudden they're gone, you know, they get torn up and stuff. So, you know, we were talking about, you know, a Tyvek suit with markings on it or feather detail like a speckled belly to match the Tyvek. And we've been talking about it for years. And of course, it's just time and, you know, technology. And so this COVID thing hit and I had some time and you know, and I'm just going to sit in front of the computer and play around with some concepts and, you know, and the X pattern, it's been done a million times. And you can put any X on a Tyvek suit and spray can and it's going to work. You know, it just breaks you up a little bit more. So, but I mean, it's you got to have a little bit of a cool factor too. I mean, that's why we're all wearing the stuff that we wear right now, right?
That's
like,
right.
why aren't we wearing Tyvek suits? Because they're not cool, right?
Yeah.
So, so then I did the X and I found an online clothing generator that would take my artwork and produce it. And then I got some stuff getting done offshore now. And I just thought, you know what? I mean, I'll get these tops and these bottoms made and we'll just hand them to the hunters. And, you know, the only person that will not like them is Barb, because I know she's going to get stuck with doing some of the extra laundry, right? Because they'll come in, there'll be blood stains on them and they'll be dirty and she'll throw them in there and she'll bleach them and it'll be a lot extra work for her every 3 days. But yeah, there's a shot of it right there. And then, you know, I started talking to the guides and we went, okay, well, why don't we do one where we go full feather detail? And I've got the Juvie Snow, and then I did one with the spec that I think looks really, really cool. And we'll lay right in the white, you know, with white suits, and we'll kill limits of specs in the white suits with a split rig, like white suits, enough white decoys for us to blend in. So then now it's just a matter of us putting on a spec suit instead of a white suit, right? And you know, the jury's still out. We really haven't had the opportunity to try it yet because just we haven't employed those systems, but we will. And then I was working on a new, that one there. Well, that one actually we tried. Daryl and I and Emily, our first hunt this year, we crushed like 150 of them real quick. So they don't not work. So
I seen those pictures.
Yeah, they don't not work, you know, and Daryl and Emily, I think, had just the X pattern on. I only had the one full feathered one. So, you know, and yeah, do you really need to go with that stuff? No, any white hoodie will work and throw a white pair of pants on or, you know, it's all going to work, you know, but I mean, what do you want for comfort? And then I did come out with a new stubble pattern called Prairie Stubble. I should go grab it, but it's just basically, it looks like combine stubble and it looks really, really slick. And I had a color tweak. So I'm just waiting for another sample to come. It should be sitting in my house in the city right now. And, you know, so we'll probably go stubble bottoms when we're hunting the stubble fields and, you know, either a white top or just, you know, comfort, some fit, form, function type clothing. It can't hurt, you know?
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't call it a whole clothing line.
It's still pretty good.
Yeah. It takes Kardashian money to come up with a clothing line.
Hey, you'll get there, buddy. You'll get there. I got faith. I got faith.
Not after this year.
Hey, you know what? And the one thing, and I know I don't need to tell you this, but you know, this 1 year, this sort of kind of a halt to your business, and I know it's killing you business wise, but you know what, sometimes these things are a blessing in disguise, and it gives you a chance to take care of some housekeeping that you normally wouldn't have had a chance to do, much like your clothing that you were just talking about. So you know what, everything happens for a reason. I'm a firm believer that, and I believe you guys will come back bigger and stronger next year, and even more energized to continue giving your clients the best experience that they can have up here in Canada.
Yeah, I mean, we hope so. We'll definitely be fresh and hungry to hunt and guide again, you know. And I know, like, we filmed this whole week here, and we wanted to capture some of that early season stuff. And I'm packing up Danny, who's she's my executive assistant in the office. And of course, with this COVID thing, I said, Danny, you know what? We gotta be creative. There's no revenue. And if we got to keep the show alive, we're going to have to get you to do the filming. So we spent a couple weeks training and teaching her, and I'm doing a bunch of the filming. She's doing the tripod work behind, capturing the hunts. And it's just a blessing in disguise that she's just this gifted being behind a camera who really never filmed before. And she has this knack to track and follow birds and stay in focus. I went, oh my God, thank God. So we're muddling our way through that, and then I'm going to go home and I'm going to pack up. I'm going elk hunting, and I've never gone elk hunting, so I'm going to go for 10 days. I'm going to put a pack on. I'm going to go up to northern Alberta with my RV, and I'm going to traipse, muddle around doing that. And then we're going to come home, film for 2 more weeks. And I'm going sheep hunting for 10 days. And then we're going to come and film the last 2 weeks of October. So yeah, I mean, it'll be nice. I'm 54. I'm going to kind of treat it as a early retirement year, and I'll just work till I'm 70 to recover from this now, and it'll probably take that, whatever, but
that's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Boys, anything else you wanna ask or
I'll go on all night.
Yeah, we certainly
What's your
could go.
limits like out there for birds?
Phil?
What's your guys' limits like out there?
So we've got 8 dark geese, 8 ducks, and 50 snows. And the ducks this year, it used to be you could only kill 4 of your 8 could be pintails, but all 8 could be mallards or any other aggregate, and kind of nice that they did that, because those pintails, they fly at slightly different times than the mallards do. Like, they'll usually come earlier in the afternoon, a little bit later in the morning flight. So, if you're hunting in the afternoon and you've got 5 guys, you can only kill 20, and it happens real quick. So when you get to 16, you're going, okay, guys, we're not shooting any more pintails. If there's 3 pintails in a flock, we're not shooting at the flock. Like, we're just waiting for the mallards to come. So that's interesting, because, you burn up a lot more hunts waiting for all those flights to come through. Whereas now you can get out there, and like that one night there, we shot in about 30 minutes. We had 40 ducks on the ground, and there was, I think, 38 of them were pintails and 2 mallards, right? And which is, it'll help the hunting side. It may not help the pintail population, but I mean, obviously the biologists feel confident enough that there's enough pintails out there. And then on the dark goose limit, we're only allowed 5 of the 8 can be speckle bellies. And it sounds like they're moving towards all 8. And I think that would be a good move across the landscape. For example, we'll go out lots of mornings and we just get covered. Like, we could kill 200 speckle bellies, and you have to stop at 25, and there's no Canadas in there, and you got 25 specks and 40 mallards. Well, now you got to go out and kill 15 Canadas. So you actually need to use another hunt. And the number of birds isn't the resource, it's the number of hunts on the landscape, right? So if we could have killed 40 specks and 40 ducks, those guys are done for the day. Set them aside, they can stay back, have lunch, have a nap, have some beers around the campfire, and then that Canada goose hunt becomes their next morning hunt, right? Or a hunt that someone else gets to use. You do that 20, 30 times a year, that's 20 or 30 more hunts on the landscape that we don't need and that other hunters get to have, which is, I think it'll be a huge asset for everybody, not just making our lives easy, And then the 50, bird snow goose limit, that's a big one, and it's hard to keep track when they're falling, and you get to 237, you think, okay, we're getting close there, and then you got to interrupt the hunt to count them all. It's not just 2 seconds, it's not like counting 40 dollars. It's 5 minutes. I mean, it's a job, and then you rack them up and you go, whew, good thing we started, counting, because you're at 245, so anyways, adds up quick.
Yeah, I bet.
Do you have any videos of Ryan counting them? Do you have any videos of Ryan actually counting them?
Yeah, my boots are off in that one.
Yeah, I
Good.
figured.
Yeah. Well, and, when you're counting them, I know when Daryl, Emily, and I hunted, and it's funny because Emily, who's Daryl's girlfriend, her first bird hunt that she did with us, she shot 150. That was last spring. And then this spring we did another one. It was 150. And, when you're out there alone, you kind of trying to keep track. But you know, if you're this way, you don't see what fell down, right?
Mhm.
And when you're guiding, you're at the back, and it's like big screen TV. We just sit there with our clicker and go click, 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 click. Okay, that was 9. Click, 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 click. That was 11. Click, click, click. That was 2. You know, and then all of a sudden, you okay, guys, we're getting close. You go, what do you think we're at? They go, oh, 140. We're going, no, 220. You know, and it's getting close. So, and we don't shoot limits all the time, but counting it is important. You know, obviously, but yeah, you got to stay on top of that. Yeah.
Claudio, the question I got, and it sort of came from an answer that you gave. How involved are you with, you know, the biologists and the people that are setting those limits and those laws and stuff? Are you ever consulted with regards to the way things are operating out west?
No, and you know, they consult a little bit with our outfitting association, I believe.
Okay.
I'm actually surprised they don't, you know, they don't use us a little bit more, and I think they should. I mean, you know, no, we're not biologists, but we're on the landscape all
Absolutely.
the time, right? You know, and you know that pintail rule, like we were talking about it with the guys, like it's a great rule for us, but it's not a great rule for those pintails. I mean,
That's right.
you know, I could see us coming in a lot of afternoons with 40 pintails and not even seeing a mallard because the mallards wait till it cools down a little bit. And, you know, we get out there early sometimes at 3:30 you're set up and those pintails start buzzing the field early and you'll be done before the flight actually happens, you know. And if you're a pintail, it's not going to be a happy day because we're going to get them all. You know, we'll kill all 40 of them. So, you know, I wish they would consult with us a little bit more, and it's just, you know, there's the numbers and the data, but there's the actual practical component that happens on the landscape.
Absolutely.
You know, and some of the regulations there. But you know, the birds aren't the problem. There's so many birds. The populations are going up. Like there's more Canadas again this year than we've ever seen. You know, more speckle bellies again than we've ever seen. I mean, who knows what's going to show up for snow geese? You know, they're just a problem. And you know, the resource itself is not the number of birds, it's the actual access to each hunt, right? So if you have 10,000 speckle bellies coming through an area and there's 5,000 in one field, 5,000 in the other, well, those are 2 hunts, right? If you have 40,000 speckle bellies coming through the area and there's 20,000 on one hunt and 20,000 on the other hunt, it's still only 2 hunts. So it's not the volume, it's the number of hunts that are sitting on the landscape that everyone's tripping over each other and fighting for to get, right? And it just, you know, that's where the issues become. But from a biological perspective, I mean, I really don't know enough to, you know, to comment. So we gotta let those guys do that, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why they get paid those big bucks. But, you know, and just me, but I don't know, maybe I would start consulting on the fellas that are out walking the ground every day. And that's just a military background for me, and just keeping it simple. You know, you consult, consult with the people that are on the ground and you'll get the right answer every time. Right. So, fellas, we're at that 65-minute mark now, and just want to do a quick round table. Anything else that you want to talk to Claudio about? We'll start with you, Mark.
Just to touch on what you were just talking about, do you record your numbers?
Everyone, we have to. Yeah. So that data does go back to Fish and Wildlife. So every hunter, AM, PM, AM, PM, AM, every bird that they've killed. So the spreadsheet is like, it's big. It's like 32 pages long or whatever. Like it's a big, you know, and then we got to do the math. So if they killed, you know, let's say they killed 26 dark geese in the morning and 12 of them were specks and 14 were Canadas and they killed 21 ducks. We go out in the afternoon, we got to kill the balance of that. And it's all reflected on the spreadsheet. So the biologists have, from the Alberta outfitters anyways, they've got a really good database of what is killed when and what is killed where and what species. So it's pretty interesting. And, you know, and I keep a rough a rough docket that we use every day. And then of course we just put the data in every day as well. So the spreadsheet's done at the end of the season. So they collected good data among the outfitters for sure, you know.
That's really cool.
I don't mean to hog anything here, but outside your own show, what's your favorite hunting show?
Duck Dynasty.
Whoop.
Just trying to think. You know what? I really enjoy Shockey stuff. I do. Like I'm a big game hunter at heart. I mean, the reason I got into the bird outfitting is you know, I just wanted to have something where I could have November off so I can go hunt whitetails, if the truth be known. So, you know, my true passion is whitetails. You know, Dean Partridge's whitetail show I love that too, because it's all about whitetails. And, you know, Live to Hunt, I like that one. I mean, there's some good shows out there. You know, I wish I had more time to watch them all, but I'll tell you what, by the time you've watched all the editing we do, it's just sometimes the last thing you want to do is watch a hunting show, you know.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
Dave.
Yeah.
No, Claudio, thanks for coming on. It's good to talk to you there.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
It's fun.
First off, I also got to say congrats to Dave Charette for getting that Jack Mine band today in our hunt. I'm always a bridesmaid, but I'm never the fucking bride here.
Yeah. It happens.
Philly.
Otto, great having you on, man. It was great picking your brain and just, you know, seeing what life is out west. And hopefully one of these days I'll get out there.
Yeah, we'll have to get you out there for sure. For sure.
Ryan.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on. It's good seeing you again. Good to chat. It's been a little long. Hopefully we're back to normal next year, and we're putting clients in front of birds and put this behind us. But yeah, hopefully we cross paths in next year the way we all know. So.
Well, chat with Daryl, because I'm going to be heading out there probably at some point. And I mean, if you can head out there, we're going to do some filming there with Daryl and Emily on the Saskatchewan side. Maybe shoot some cranes. So
yeah,
if you're around and you feel like making a trip, we can probably coordinate that. We will see you, you know.
For sure, man. If I can be there, I will, for sure.
Right on. Right on. Again, guys, thanks. You know, thanks for the opportunity. It was fun. And anytime you can chat with a bunch of other guys who are as passionate about bird hunting as, you know, I am, and do it for a living. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Claudio, thank you again. Thank you for another amazing show. And I really cannot thank you enough. I know it's been about 2.5 weeks now of me shooting you texts and emails and, hey, are you good for today? Can you do today? And me tormenting you and you trying to get some filming in and stuff. And I really do appreciate you taking some time this evening and coming out and chatting with us. As you can see, we had a ton of questions to ask, and it was some really good information. Some stuff, you know what, that I think a lot of people are really going to start scratching their heads because they really didn't think about those things. So again, I cannot thank you enough, and just to show this crazy idea that we had for the Union 0430, this show, and continually the guests that come on and hang out with us for an hour and a bit and just, you know, shoot the shit and have fun and talk hunting. I can't thank you enough, and I hope towards the end of the season we can extend the invitation once again and have you come back on and talk about your elk hunt, your hunt for your sheep. I'm guessing you're going to BC for the sheep.
No, I'll be doing it in Alberta here.
Okay.
Need another bird outfitter. He's got the time too. Yeah, we're gonna head into the mountains and put packs on our backs and go for 10 days. And hopefully these old boys can still carry a sheep out if we do get one, you know.
Oh, I'm sure you will. Just might take you a little bit longer, but I'm sure you'll get it out. Everybody,
awesome.
Everybody, please check out Hired to Hunt on Wild TV. If you can't get it on Wild TV, you can check out Claudio's YouTube page, and you'll be able to see the episodes after they've aired on Wild TV. You'll see Claudio put them up. And as you all know, Ryan will be showing up on a couple episodes here real soon. So we're pretty excited to see. we're pretty excited to see Ryan on the big screen here. So he's really buying into this nickname of Hollywood that we've given him.
Oh, love it. Yeah. I love it.
Look at him. He looks like a Hollywood star.
All I want is more attention. Yeah.
Worse, Ryan. Could be worse.
Yeah, it could be worse, I guess.
Yeah, it could be worse, buddy.
Yeah.
He did a great job for us over in Saskatchewan. It was awesome.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, I'm sure, and I have no doubt in my mind that he did. Everybody, please continue to support for Punisher Waterfowl and the Union 0430. We can't thank you all enough for all the support that you've done. Stick around for next week, and we'll have another awesome show, and hopefully a lot more stories about some sky pandas hitting the dirt. Claudio, once again, thank you so much. Sending nothing but good thoughts and big love out your way, and hope you have a safe fall for you and all your crew. To the rest of you boys, love yous. Can't wait to see yous all again, and share a blind. Big love, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.